everyone, and welcome to the Balanced Bodies Blueprint. I am your host, Vinny Russo.
And I am your co-host, Dr. Erin Stansfield.
And we're shifting gears from all the conventional fitness narrative you hear on most fitness podcasts, as our main emphasis lies in preventative healthcare, adopting a holistic approach to nutrition, and challenging the traditional views on various fitness topics.
Our mission with this podcast is to provide you with the information you need to achieve optimal health.
And on today's podcast, we are going to be discussing how vegetables are not the ones that are toxic. It's actually the influencer that you're listening to. And I've been hearing this a lot. I mean, I believe it started with Dave Asbury. He's big on oxalates. He's big on getting people to believe that if you eat spinach, you're going to form these razor sharp crystals, is his exact phrase that he uses, that are going to tear your insides apart. Which is all nonsense. So we're going to dive into this stuff today. Do you have anything you want to say before we get started?
So this is your realm of expertise and less mine. I had to look up some stuff just to see what the valid concerns might be. But again, if you are a healthy person, I would highly recommend eating your vegetables and getting that fiber in.
Yeah, hearing people try to demonize vegetables is like probably one of the biggest red flags, because when you actually look at large populations, and we're not looking at influencers or antidotes, or we're not cherry picking, data or even mechanisms, but we look at actual human data, we will notice that one thing consistently shows up on the protective side of the equation, which is going to be vegetables. Right, so just to dive a little bit into like a broader scope of studies with vegetables, when you look at large cohorts and even meta-analysis, you're going to notice that higher fruit and higher vegetable intake is consistently associated with two things. One, lower cardiovascular disease risk, and two, lower all-cause mortality. Cause. I can't say it.
New Jersey coming out.
Yeah, no shit. Utah has not rubbed off on me. So when we look at that, right, those benefits tend to actually increase when you go to about the recommended 5 servings per day, and then they start to level off. Then there's like no extra benefit if you have more than 5 servings, but 5 is better than 1. Okay, and this shows up across organizations like the WHO, the American Heart Association, and the WHO, yeah.
The World Health Organization.
Yes.
WHO.
WHO, yeah, the WHO.
Yeah, we don't call it the WHO.
Who's we?
I'm just saying.
Isn't there a band called the WHO?
Yes.
That's what I was talking about, obviously. And now you made me lose my train of thought.
Sorry.
Yeah. What did I say? So they show up in the World Health Organization. Yes. I said the American Heart Association, and I don't really know, but I just know that if you look at published PubMed index journals, they're going to show up there too. Now, there is an important clarification that I do want to say, and that is that vegetables are not going to be magic. Okay, they don't cancel out a terrible lifestyle, and they don't fix everything. Okay, but when you look at the big picture and you take a step back and you look, you will see that eating more plants is probably one of the most repeatable, boring, high return on your investment moves that you can make for your long-term health. Which is exactly why when we hear influencers fear-monger vegetables, it makes me want to throw my head against the wall. And the main issue with that is I'm like, you have so many people out there that are struggling to eat enough vegetables, right? And now you're going to convince them that there's these toxins that are going to destroy your insides, which is just going to push them further away from even eating them. So you're not helping people develop better eating habits by fear-mongering one of the most healthiest foods or food categories that you could put into your body.
Well, I think just from a medical perspective, it's obviously I said fiber alluded to, and then also it's a way, especially if you're dieting, I think to keep you full, a low calorie way. So I'm always a big fan of vegetables, and I know you said 1 to 5 servings, but honestly, one serving is better than 0 servings. So I think whatever you can get in, and use seasoning, like for spinach, and there's lots of ways you can prepare it to make vegetables more appealing. But as long as you get it into your diet, I think that's better than not having it in your diet.
Yeah, we have some clients that actually they'll blend it and drink it just because they don't want to sit there and eat it. And I don't know how that tastes because I'm not big into doing that. But if
I'm
it
a
helps
fan
them
of
get
that.
if it helps them get it in, then I'm fine with it. Well, you used to put spinach in your protein shakes.
Yeah, so there's certain, just so you guys know, if you want a little trick, there's certain protein shakes that have really strong flavoring. Good ones are chocolate, actually. A lot of the chocolate ones will hide the spinach. So you can put a ton of spinach in there just to get it in. When I was competing and stuff like that, I needed to keep myself satiated, and it was a very easy way to do it, to get my protein intake and my nutrients, my micronutrients in. I just blend it together, put as much spinach as I could get in there, blend it so it was not so thick, and I would just drink it, and it was great.
Yeah, it sounds terrible, but
No,
I get it.
it tasted fine.
Well,
It
no,
was
I tried it when you
chocolate.
did it
Yeah.
once. I asked you to try it,
Yeah.
and I didn't even taste the spinach at all. So
Yeah.
let's dive into these. So I brought up oxalates as because of Dave Asbury. So let me start with oxalates. And with oxalates, you can hear things like spinach is toxic, right? Oxalates will steal your minerals. Oxalates cause kidney stones for everyone, that type of stuff. And the claim leading to kidney stones and joint pain and mineral deficiencies isn't of reality, okay? Because oxalates are only a real variable for a subset of people. And these people will primarily be those that are prone to calcium oxalate kidney stones or who are hyperabsorbers. Okay, this is not the general population. So when you have someone with a huge following that's like, hey, oxalates are destroying you, it's not even affecting you. So the smarter message is if someone is known to be a quote unquote stone former, then you target a few very high oxalate foods, not all vegetables in general, and you keep an eye on it. And you probably use calcium to help with the overall oxalate absorption.
All right, so here's the medical disclaimer, right? So what if you are predisposed to kidney stones? And I think, so this is what I had to look into a little bit. Medical societies and evidence-based guidelines recommend limiting dietary oxalate intake to reduce urinary oxalate excretion and calcium oxalate stone formation, particularly, so again, this is a subset of patients that Vinny was talking about, particularly in patients with hyperoxaluria or recurrent calcium oxalate kidney stones. So if you are prone, and especially if you have a family history of kidney stones, then then you ought to be cautious about this kind of intake. And again, like Vinny said, you want to maintain adequate calcium consumption. So the key recommendations come from the American Urological Association. So people that might have calcium oxalate stones and relatively high urinary oxalate formation are to limit intake of oxalate-rich foods and maintain normal calcium consumption. What's normal calcium consumption? About 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams daily. Calcium from foods and beverages should be consumed primarily at meals to enhance gastrointestinal binding of oxalate. And patients with enteric hypoxaluria and malabsorption conditions, so these are going to be people that might have, other GI issues, they may benefit from more restrictive oxalate diets as well as higher calcium intake. So basically, if you fall in this population, your dietary oxalate restriction should be less than 100 milligrams per day. And you want to avoid absorbic acid, so vitamin C basically
Throw me under the bus.
is the main dietary precursor for endogenous oxalate production. So be careful with vitamin C. If you fall in the subset of patients, and you ought to know because you will have recurrent kidney stones. If you do have recurrent kidney stones, ask the provider to do a full workup. And if you're not seeing, a primary care provider, make sure that you are, so that you know why you're forming so many kidney stones.
Yeah, and if you are someone who is not prone to this stuff, just think about what you're missing out on by not consuming spinach, right? You're missing out on potassium, folate, vitamin K, magnesium, fiber, polyphenols. So instead of sitting here and fear mongering spinach out of everyone's diet, you need to personalize your diet intelligently. Now, the second one I want to talk about is something that I heard about very long time ago, actually, and it involves lectins. And I feel like lectins are pretty dramatic, right? People say like lectins will destroy your gut, beans are going to poison you, plants are trying to kill you because these lectins are what is used as a defense mechanism for insects, so they're going to kill humans. It's like, to me, I don't know, I have a hard time wrapping my head around it. But here's what gets ignored with people eating lectins. People don't eat lectin-rich foods raw. Okay, so standard preparation like soaking, boiling, stewing them, this inactivates most of the lectins that are found in those food items. Red kidney beans are the favorite example to scare people. Okay, and there's only a problem with red kidney beans when they're raw and undercooked. And the FDA literally spells out the proper soaking and boiling methods to help solve this issue. Now, if we look at things like legumes and beans, right, they're associated with very, very important positive benefits like improved blood sugar regulation, lower LDL cholesterol, increased satiety, which is extremely important, especially if you're trying to diet down, high fiber intake, like Dr. Aaron alluded to, improved gut microbiome diversity, which everyone's so big on improving the gut. Well, have some beans and legumes. So lectins aren't a vegetables are a dangerous issue. They're a don't eat undercooked beans issue. That's what they are.
It's interesting. So I agree with everything you said. I saw actually a Medscape article the other day that was saying that their lectins could be toxic, and it was funny because people weren't preparing them correctly. So make sure you do all the appropriate things. I don't cook myself. I don't think I've ever made beans. I like beans. I like legumes. My favorite legume are peanuts. But I don't ever prepare them. So make sure you prepare them correctly. But they're generally safe, and they are part of a healthy diet. So most concerning data come from animal studies. So if anybody is trying to fearmonger you, they're looking at animal studies using isolated lectins that at doses that are far exceeding typical dietary doses in a human. So please don't listen to them, but make sure you prepare them correctly.
Well, yeah, I'm going to touch on that probably at the end with this whole isolation issue that they're doing. And that's what they're using in terms of cherry picking data to be able to push forth the narrative that they know more than what your doctor knows or what your true health expert knows. Because
Well, it has to be a secret. They have to know a secret that nobody knows, because then it's sexy.
Yeah. Well, let's go on to the last one I really want to talk about, which are nightshades.
I didn't know what these were until I met you.
Well, so nightshades might be the most understood,
Misunderstood.
yes, misunderstood group of them all. And they include, if you don't know, tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, white potatoes, spices like cayenne pepper.
Paprika.
But the claims are with them is that they cause inflammation, that they trigger immune flares, and that they worsen joint pain. And what I'm here to say, and I'm pretty sure Dr. Aaron will support this, is that there's no solid evidence that nightshades universally worsen arthritis or inflammation within the body.
Oh, I like this one because they blame the favorite thing of all influencers is you have like some underlying inflammation that you don't know about, and there's some secret treatment that you're not doing to get rid of it. and they have nothing to prove about this inflammation or even how to get rid of it. So this is a good one that they can blame, I guess. Again, there is no rigorous clinical evidence that nightshades cause harm. Nightshade vegetables contain glycoalkaloids, which have been shown in lab studies, again, in lab studies, so in a petri dish, to potentially disrupt intestinal epithelium, raising only theoretical concerns about inflammatory events. So again, this is all theoretical, not solid evidence. No trials demonstrate this in humans as of yet. Anyway, science is always changing. But as of yet, we don't have any solid data in humans that this is actually the case. So if anyone is blaming this, I wouldn't give it credence at this point.
Yeah, and if some individuals actually feel better removing nightshades, that doesn't mean that there was causation there, right? It just like that could have been from reflux triggers from like I don't know, tomato sauce. Could have been the preparation method, fried versus boiled potatoes. Could have been just cleaning up your overall diet, or maybe there was a rare individual sensitivity. But overall, I mean, if you look at it, if we're telling you that there's no legitimate data that this is going to harm you, think about what they actually bring to your diet. Like tomatoes and peppers bring potassium, vitamin C, polyphenols, carotenoids. Potatoes, when they're not demonized or avoided because they're carbohydrate, are one of the most potassium dense foods that you can find, and they're extremely satiating. Right? Potatoes are great to have if you are in a dieting phase, and they are a very quality carbohydrate source. When you look at like guidance with people with arthritis, you're going to notice that they actually promote Mediterranean style, plant forward, not trying to demonize any type of food category type of pattern. And if you have that, that's legit inflammation within your body, and they're telling you stick with the vegetables. Like, so if that doesn't speak volumes, I don't know what will. What I wanted to touch on when you just brought this up a little bit before was that what I find the core problem to be is that influencers are isolating a compound, right? Something like oxalates and something like lectins, and they're pretending or making it seem like humans just eat the isolated compounds in a vacuum, right? And that these vegetables aren't just food, they're actually just the compound, which is bullshit. Because even just like you mentioned before, you know, the fiber content, the amount of water you get, right? The polyphenols, the micronutrients, the phytonutrients that you get from vegetables, the vitamins, the minerals, all of that together just show the importance of having vegetables within your diet. So to isolate a compound that might cause harm in insects and in animals and do not show any type of harm in humans is just like a sleazy way to get people to think that you know what the fuck you're talking about when you don't. So my advice is this: if vegetables do bother someone, the solution is not to just ban them, right? Adjust the type of vegetable you're eating. Adjust the preparation you're doing for your vegetables. Adjust the portion size of the vegetables. You just don't replace vegetables because there's fear mongering being perpetuated throughout social media today.
Yeah, I didn't know this was a thing until I met you. Like I said, I didn't know what nightshade vegetables were. I'll give you an anecdotal story about myself. I seem to be a little bit sensitive to tomatoes. And so I like tomatoes.
Could have fooled me with all the flatbread you eat.
I know. So, but again, you know, with anything, the context matters. There's nuance to everything, and everyone's a little bit different. And so, you know, I know the dose makes the poison, essentially. I'm not saying that tomatoes are poisonous, but I watch my dose intake, right? So if I have too many, then I seem to get a little bit of a GI upset. So just watch your, you know, the preparation, what you're particularly sensitive to. Everyone's a little bit different, but to demonize or to pretend like there's some secret toxin in these, I think is ridiculous. There are, you know, as somebody who does actually work with toxic chemicals, there are other toxins that we should worry about, not vegetables.
Don't you have an issue with garlic too?
Yeah, I don't like, well, garlic gives you reflux. And so, and I think, reflux is a real problem for a lot of people. And so, there's certain foods that I will purposely avoid so I don't, put on reflux. And reflux could be a whole different episode on, what foods to avoid, what foods to do. And obviously, there are real medical consequences with reflux. It can cause scarring in your esophagus. And that could have long-term effects, even cancer later on. So
Another episode.
yeah, another episode. There's no secret to that either.
So that's going to be it for today. The main message is don't listen to the fear-mongering and eat your damn vegetables. Next week, we actually have a very special guest coming on. It's one of Dr. Aaron's professional crushes.
It's my hero.
Dr. Carl Nadowski is going to be on, and we are going to be discussing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we'll see
From
how much we can
obesity
cover.
clinics to GLPs
I'm pretty excited about this.
yeah, endocrinology, all of it. So stay tuned for that, and we will see you all next week.
So on behalf of Balanced Bodies, we just want to say thank you for joining us on this episode of the Balanced Bodies Blueprint.
We are committed to bringing valuable content. And if you enjoyed today's episode, we'd greatly appreciate it if you can take a moment and like it and leave a 5-star review.
On Apple, just go to the show, scroll down to the bottom and rate it there. If you're on Spotify, go to the show's page, click the 3 dots, and you can rate it there as well.
And if you believe in the power of knowledge, share this episode on your social media to try and get the information out there to as many people as possible.
And as you navigate your own path towards better health, remember that Balanced Bodies is forever in your corner. See you all next week.
The podcast content may include discussions of medical topics and health-related information. However, the information provided should not be considered exhaustive or complete, and it should not be relied upon as a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare providers with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment.